Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome back to 10 Count. I'm Fall, but on today's edition, I am talking to the MLW reigning and defending World Heavyweight Champion. It's Alex Hammerstone. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure talking to you because you are, if you don't want to believe this, I will definitely hype you up about this. You're the face of MLW. You see a poster, your face is on it. You see an advertisement, you're on it. Anytime people are talking about MLW, your face is there. How does it make you feel? Is that a sense of responsibility for you to represent the company in such a big position?
Man, it's definitely a huge responsibility. It's one of those things, there's like a joke in wrestling, like everybody wants to be the top guy till they're the top guy, because it does come with extra responsibilities, the extra main event matches, going on last, doing the press, doing the media, making sure you make extra time for fans, and the eyes are on you, the scrutiny is extra heavy, but it's a workload well embraced by myself because it's something I've worked very hard for a very long time to get to this point. So I'm happy to do it.
Of course, but when you reach the top of the mountain, obviously everyone always talks about, it's easier to get to the top of the mountain than to stay on top of the mountain. Now, how is that process going for you? Because obviously, as the face of the company, like you said, there's so much pressure doing media, making sure you have time for the fans. Is that a wear and tear on you in general? Because obviously, growing up, you become a professional wrestler. Well, then your goals are obviously become world champion. You have done that. Like, what is next for you and the pressure that's mounting on top of your shoulders?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, I'm concerned with staying where I'm at right now, and it's easy for me to have a goal because just before myself, we had Jacob Fatu as the world heavyweight champion,
Yeah.
and he was extremely dominant. He had an extremely long reign, so the obvious goal is to surpass his reign. The obvious goal is to have a reign that is the most glorious, the most prestigious in the company's history.
Yeah.
To take the title to new heights, to take it to new places, to take it to a new level. And I've done a lot of those things, as far as traveling with the belt across the different countries. But now it is that, like, I'm at the top, and you got this extra level of like scrutiny. Everyone's always waiting for you to have a bad match or something and say you're boring, you're overrated, you shouldn't be there. So I'm kind of now the gears are turning into my head about what's next with my own presentation. How do I want to keep things fresh? How do I want to continue to put a new spin on things? And I think I'm going to be able to do some exciting things in the new year.
Well, because January 7th, Blood and Thunder. I don't know why when I say that, I want to say, in rock and roll, whoa, a little, it just makes me want a little Kiss fan inside me. But you're going to be, as I look at it, the main event of Blood and Thunder against Dragon Gate's Yamato. Now, this is a huge matchup for a lot of fans. Now, what can fans expect from this? Because this is going to be a knockdown, drag out fight.
Yeah, I think this is the situation where I thrive the best. Over the past couple months, you've seen me have to do things like, you know, uh, no disqualification match with Pagano and a falls count anywhere match with Richard Holiday, and things of this nature. But my bread and butter is a technical wrestling match in the middle of the wrestling ring. And especially when you talk about some of these flavors where you bring in the international guys, like my best work I've done was in Japan and working that style and adapting to that. So getting to bring some of that over stateside and present it in MLW, that's a treat for me. I think it's going to be a treat for the fans. Like you said, it's going to be a main event. It's going to be a high level, high energy match. And Yamato's no joke. I'm not thinking this is going to be an easy night for me by any means. But I think it's going to be, I think I'm going to walk away with the title. And I think it's going to be one of those matches that people walk away going, holy shit. I hope, I'm glad I didn't miss that one.
Yeah, I think Yamato, he's got a bit of a thing coming for him. Dragon Gate involved with MLW. This event is huge. But again, it's in Philadelphia. This is like wrestling central for a lot of fans. If you grew up with ECW, you know that. The fans in Philly are rabid. So having this event here, is this like a strategic movement? Because it feels like every day MLW is growing, but yet planting yourself in this huge event to kick off the year in Philadelphia, I feel like is someone was thinking we need to be very strategic about where we place this huge event coming up in 2023. Is that how you feel?
Well, MLW is a traveling brand. We hit a lot of major cities, and we're continuing to move into new markets every year. That being said, Philly has become kind of like an unofficial home of MLW, where we are frequenting that spot. And as you alluded to, there's some good reasons to it. Um, and a big one is those fans, the crazy fans. They bring a certain level of energy. They keep it high. And they can be a bit finicky to work with, man, because they can turn on you like just like that, man. And it's hard to win over the Philly crowd, but when you do and you have them in your corner, there's nothing quite like it, too.
Yeah, I think for some strange reason, like your size, you said you're so strong and you got such big muscles. I feel like some fans always look, I don't know why, like a little down on people who have big physiques because they think, well, the only reason that you're champion or the only reason you're here is because of your muscles. Now, there are instances in the past in wrestling that, yes, that is true. But yet, that's not true for you. And that's, I think, where in Philly we'll see what happens on January 7th at Blood and Thunder if the fans go, you know what? I'm okay with his muscles today. Well, is that how you feel too? Because obviously you obviously worked hard for your physique, but yet there are a small margin of fans who, for some strange reason, look down upon big, meaty, muscly men.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there are wrestlers that are bodybuilders first and then wrestlers second. And then
Yes.
there's guys like me who it's like, yeah, I'm a wrestler and then I dipped my toe in bodybuilding. Like, EJ and Duca wants to go run his mouth off about how he's a greater bodybuilder than I was. And it's like, cool, bro. Well, glad they're not judging my glutes while we're in the middle of the wrestling match, because when you don't know how to do a wrist lock, all the bodybuilding poses in the world aren't going to save you. So that being said, like, yeah, I've always been a visually. I felt it was important to bring a strong visual presence to my character, as well as just having the physical capability to do some of the things that come along with being this size. But I've always been a wrestler first and foremost. I've always put my priority in that, put my eggs in that basket. So I understand some of the scrutiny from fans, but also I think we're just kind of living through a shift in modern wrestling. I think fans more so than ever, like, kind of have like this leniency to want to cheer for an underdog. Like,
Mm-hmm.
always, like, and you'll see it sometimes where fans are almost rooting for a guy simply based off the premise that they don't think he'll be like pushed. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And then when that guy starts to get like the machine behind him and everyone's all rabid for him, once like they get their big moment, like maybe they make it all the way to winning the title, and the fans are like, oh well, what now? They realize like, oh, we didn't really like think
Yes.
this through. We're not really that attached to this guy. We're more attached to the idea that it's like funny for a little skinny guy to win, and I'm not saying that's how it is all the time, because sometimes there's, underdog types who are very talented, who are very charismatic, but sometimes fans just almost want to go against the grain. So you see a guy like me walk out, 260 pounds, muscular. If I'm going against someone who's half my size, there's some fans who almost just want to be the guy who goes, well, I want the little guy to win, because wouldn't that be funny?
No,
um,
I agree. I agree with you with that. That the aspect of let's chant for the underdog because the machine's not going to push them, and then once become world champion, immediately everyone flips on that person and goes, "I don't like them anymore." It happened. There's a history of wrestlers like that. It always comes to my mind, at least in the WWE, was Daniel Bryan, never supposed to be champion, never supposed to be champion. Underdog, push, 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 becomes champion. People are like, okay, well. Now,
what now?
what now? He got
uh,
hurt, so it didn't really flip on him as hard as some people. But I 100% agree with you that it happens a lot, and we'll see if the fans keep on cheering you on January 7th at Blood and
you,
Thunder. We'll see. We'll
you know,
see.
I, I've been lucky. I feel like debuting at Philly. I always say like Philly's a little bit special to me because I debuted with MLW in Philly, and the crowd ate me alive. A year later, I believe was when I had my match with T Hawk, which was kind of a breakout match for me with MLW, where the crowd was still, I was, they were against me, but then as the match was going, it was like, oh, we split them, and then a couple years after that is when I end up winning the MLW World Championship in Philly, and the crowd goes nuts for me. So I've had to work them. I've had to prove myself to them. So now it's just about, like you said, keeping them in my corner.
Yeah, that's interesting that working hard actually, worked out because sometimes, working hard, they'll be like, I don't care. That guy can put in as much work as he wants. I'm not going to accept him as my champion. And that's how some people are. They take sides and they're never going to flip.
Yep,
Politics, wrestling, sports, really anything. You take a
yeah,
side, you're kind of stuck on that side for a while because it's going to be hard for you to suddenly swallow your pride and jump
exactly.
on the other side. Oh well, I didn't flip flop. I never flip. I always liked that guy. No, you didn't. I saw your tweet. I saw your tweets 3 years ago, shitting on all over Hammerstone, you asshole. But we'll see what happens there. But this is a Blood and Thunder event. You got Billy Starks making her debut. You got John Morrison returning to MLW after 4 years away from the brand. Like, this is not just, it feels very, like the biggest event to kick off the year. We have so many things looking forward to in 2023, but really, January 7th, that's like if we're talking about WrestleMania-esque, we're talking this huge event coming up, Blood and Thunder. Now, with Morrison and Starks involved, like, and then you have Enzo and you have Lince Dorado. Like, there's just so much in this mesh. How exciting is it for you to see that not just they pump for your matches, everyone's pumped for all these returns, these debuts? Like, MLW is kicking off the year the right way.
Well, I mean, it's just crazy because, like you said, I don't get like a rundown of everything that's going to happen. So a lot of the times I'm seeing the matches announced in real time with everybody else. Um, and I keep thinking like, oh dang, this is a stacked show, and then they announce like another main
Yeah.
event quality match, like a main event anywhere, and I'm just like, okay, and then another one, and then another one, and I'm just like, geez, like this show really is super stacked. This isn't me putting on like my MLW politically correct, like push the company hat. I'm watching this like you said, like damn, like I didn't even think this was gonna like turn out to be like this super show mega presentation thing. Like I was like, okay, yeah, it's another one of our tapings. It's gonna be quality from top to bottom. But then you start adding in all these surprises, all these big matches, and it's just like it really is stacked, and it really does make me super excited. Not just for this event, not just for the turnout, not just for how hopefully satisfied the fans will go home, but for the things that are on the horizon with the company. Obviously, we just joined up with the Pro Wrestling TV app. Um, we've got a lot of interesting things planned for this year, and now with some of these new debuts and new angles popping off, it just really makes me really excited, and makes me wonder who am I going to get involved with next.
That makes me want to jump to my next question. Out of all the free agents in the wrestling world right now, who do you want to show up in MLW and try to take your World Heavyweight Championship from you? Because there are so many free agents right now. It feels like wrestling is just booming.
um You know what? It's there are a lot of really good guys right now, and a lot of guys who I do shows with, or I see on some indie shows, and I'm thinking like, man, how has no one snatched this guy up yet? That being said, it's really hard for me to start looking at those guys when we have guys like Sam Adonis and Willie Mack, and now John Morrison. All these guys who have just within the last couple of weeks joined up with MLW.
Yeah.
I've never stepped foot with them in an MLW ring. So it's like I feel like I got some immediate threats over my shoulder before I start looking at the vast surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to look in your own house before you look at your neighbors because you got people obviously gunning for the championship gold. But you mentioned Pro Wrestling TV. You can watch MLW Fusion at 8 p.m. on Pro Wrestling TV, which is amazing. They have so many good wrestling organizations all involved in one place. So if you love wrestling, check out Pro Wrestling TV right now because it has Maria, it has Warriors, it has everything underneath the sun for a wrestling fan. And I think that's what's really happening more in wrestling. Maybe you agree or disagree that there is this undercurrent of fans who is no longer interested in what you're seeing on national TV because that has a whole different dynamic of who's being pushed, not being pushed. Advertisers can't say this, can't do that. It feels like with MLW, for instance, this is growing every day because of the growth. And it feels like Metallica. When Metallica was starting off, everyone was behind them. And then once they cut their hair off, everyone turned on them instantly. MLW feels like it's Metallica right now with the long hair, kicking ass. So how do you feel about that, where it feels like MLW is growing at a ridiculous pace because they're not involved with a TBS or a TNT or a USA? They're on Pro Wrestling TV, and they're doing amazing work.
I think it's kind of like you said. I think there's almost like an aspect of where you feel a little bit more of a personal connection. Like it feels more accessible. It feels more like these guys are real versus like it's like when when I went and saw my favorite band for the first time, like in like 2007. It was almost strange to me to like see like because I got right up on the front row and to see them be like, oh, they're human beings, like they
Right.
almost didn't seem that way, and I think sometimes with this with certain wrestling, like it seems like they're like there's so many moving parts, and like you said, there's networks saying who can say what and who has to present it this way, and then there's people backstage, saying, oh, wear this, wear that, do this, don't do that move, do this move. So you lose a certain bit of the genuine, presentation. And with MLW, there's none of that going on. I've been surprised so many times that the things I've been able to say and get away with on the show, but it's like that's you. And then even my merch sometimes will have like little innuendos in it that I'm just like, how did this make it?
Yeah.
But it's like that's me. That's what I'm gonna do. And if you try to change it, you're gonna get this neutered wannabe version of Hammerstone, and people don't gravitate towards that. They gravitate towards what's real, what they could connect with. Um, and then beyond that, it's just kind of like it's fun to be part of the thing that's the movement that's growing. That's it's like you guys might not know about them yet, but I do, and I'm in the know, and I get to appreciate what you guys don't even know that's happening yet. There's a certain element to that too. So I think there's a whole lot of moving pieces that come into it, but it's definitely an exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
And then you kind of brought it up a little bit. So if someone has never watched MLW, if someone's never watched you in MLW, is there a particular match that you would say to someone, you just got into the brand now, you're enjoying the show, Blood and Thunder, again, January 7th, and you want to go back and you want to see some highlights? Would it be the match with you and Jacob Fatu?
Uh, Jacob Fatu is definitely a good one. I always reference me and Jacob. I reference me and Davey Richards was another one I really liked. Those are definitely two incredible matches with two other incredible wrestlers. Those are, and they're definitely. You search Hammerstone on YouTube, they're probably going to be some of the top results. So they're easy to find. No excuses.
That's true. It's pretty easy to find wrestling these days. If you go back 25, 30 years ago, if you wanted to see wrestling that was not on national TV, you had to tape trade.
Yeah.
A nice VHS tape, folks. Yeah, take it back. Rewind that shit. Blockbuster will charge you 15 cents to not rewind it. Those are good times. But these are better times now with MLW obviously expanding. But again, like I keep saying, it's growing every day. Why do you feel like that? Why do you feel fans are flocking to MLW more so than ever?
I mean, it's like I just said. There's the where being allowed to present something genuine, and people don't feel like it's some forced. They don't feel like we just got handed a script of how to do what to do. Um, and there's an element of that shines through. I don't care what you say, it shines through. People gravitate towards it, and then beyond that, um, the level of talent we have, like, you look at guys like, John Morrison, who's been a star everywhere in the world, and he's here. But beyond that, we have guys grown from the ground up. And it's like you cannot deny, like some guys have gone on from MLW to become the biggest names in other companies as well. Like you can't deny that a lot of the guys who are coming up now here are the stars of other companies in the future.
Yeah.
It's and it's always cool to be to like I saw them here and I knew from day one that they were going to grow into something. It's like a lot of guys, MLW really, more so than any company I've ever been a part of, is like, here's the brass ring. If you want to grab it, grab it. Not, oh, from day one, this is our chosen guy. We're going to make this the guy. And if it fails, we're going to keep going until it stops failing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like when I walked into the company, I was a nobody. Like I think I worked for, I mean, I like to think I was a somebody, but what I mean is there was no grand plan of how I was going to become the guy.
Hmm.
I think I worked 3 dates before I even said anything to Court Bauer, like in person, so I was just, but I came to work every day, work pants on, ready to do what needed to be done, ready to be there on time, ready to, crush my promos, crush my matches, grab any opportunity I can. If there was something that an extra thing I could do, I was going to try to do it. And slowly but surely, when I started getting over, when the dynasty started getting over, it's like, okay, we got to make these guys a centerpiece of the show. And then once it was like a breakout, into single stars, like it was just very natural about how the progression went because they just laid the foundation and they gave us the tools to succeed. And um, when people can see like that's how things work and like you're getting these organically grown stars, like
Hmm.
that's something special, so people like to pay attention to that because you don't feel like something's being shoved down their throat.
Right. That's true too, because I think wrestling fans more than ever are very aware. We brought up a couple of times earlier when the machine straps that rocket to you, they immediately turn on you. But with you as the heavyweight champion, it feels like I'm not you, but maybe from the perspective of what I see, is there's no one turning on you yet. We'll have to see how that goes down because most likely I have a feeling that'll happen. But you brought up when you first came in too, it's very interesting to see photos of yourself then and photos of yourself now. It's just it feels like you're the same person obviously, but the presentation looks a little different. There's tweaks here and there that has changed just a smidge that allowed you to grow to who you are now as the world heavyweight champion. It's just incredible. Recently though, the PWI 500 ranked you number 24 out of 500 fans. I mean, excuse me, 500 wrestlers. That
Yes.
has gotta feel pretty good because there are plenty of wrestlers out of that 500 bunch that are working for companies again on USA or TBS or TNT, and who the hell cares? Because you're 24 in this 500 person list.
Yeah, man. It's funny because like, a lot of the wrestlers like to, do the thing. Oh, the PWI 500 doesn't matter. Just a bunch of marks writing it. Don't care about that. And if you
Yeah,
post your number, you're a mark. But usually the guys saying that are the guys who aren't on it.
right. Yeah.
And like I would joke about it, every year because I was like, oh yeah, it's stupid. But I was like, secretly, you're kind of like, you're you're like, it's dumb, dumb, dumb. But then you're like, when it comes out, you're like, so am I on it? And,
Yeah.
and I remember the first time I got on it, I think I was like 450 something, right? Um, and I remember like I did think it was super cool. And I remember I was working at a restaurant at the time, and I like showed my boss, and I was like, "Look, I made it to the top 500 wrestlers in the world." And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome." And he goes, "Wait a minute." And ranked right before me was Cheeseburger from ROH. And he goes, I mean, I guess that's cool, but also there's a guy named Cheeseburger who's better than you. And I was just like, oh,
Oh,
but
oh, so funny. Damn you, boss. Don't look at that. Look at the people I'm
yeah,
above. Not know who's
I,
above me. Damn it.
yeah, I did like it is crazy to think, how I jumped up, all the way now to 24. And it's obviously it's a representation, a reflection of the year I had in wrestling, holding the MLW World Heavyweight Champion, one of the actual recognized world championships in professional wrestling. And then beyond that, holding the heavyweight championships of several reputable independent companies, and traveling to Mexico, traveling to England, traveling to Australia, all these things that I did. I worked really hard, so it's like obviously that rating is going to be a reflection of that, so now it's just about having an even bigger year and doing more things and having more high profile matches. Because, once you see it get all the way up to 24, you start to realize that, oh, that's not way far away from top 10.
Hell yeah, man. This past year for the women, multiple wrestlers from Stardom were in the top 150 for the women. And that that blew some people's minds, because that was kind of the first time that's happened where you had a group of wrestlers who weren't working for the WWE or WCW or whatever, one of those other companies that existed before or now, suddenly up there on the number one. And so I think there's room for the world champion of MLW to be number one on the PWI 2023. Just saying.
Let's make it.
Just
Hey,
saying.
I ain't afraid to try. I
Uh,
ain't never been afraid to try.
I was gonna say I have a bunch of copies of the original like PWIs down here. This is 1997,
Uh,
so I bet $1 million to one. There's probably one wrestler from New Japan in the top 10, but out of the bunch, I'm guaranteeing you that let's do a little survey right now. Yeah, so yep, Kenta, yeah, there you go. Kenta's number 6 on that list in 1997. So there you go. It proves it right there that it can happen for anybody. But again, I am so excited for this huge Blood and Thunder event on January 7th in Philly, folks, in Philly. If you're in the Philadelphia area, go check this out, because you're defending your World Heavyweight Championship. We got John Morrison versus Davey Richards. Enzo will be there as well. Lince Dorado, Valkyrie. There's just so much on this card that if you miss it, I won't call you stupid, but I will call you. You're stupid. You're stupid, all right? If you miss this card, I didn't want to say it. At my house, I got 3 kids. We don't use the word stupid or hate, but I will hate you for missing this event, and you are stupid for missing it. All right, my kids didn't hear me. All right, good. They didn't hear me. But I have to say, thank you so much for being here on 10 Count, talking about everything MLW, because they're on again Thursdays on Pro Wrestling TV at 8 p.m. You can check out MLW every single week. So no excuse of, oh, I can't find it. Where is this? None of that. Because when I
the
used to try
app
to,
is free.
the app's free,
App
folks.
is free.
When I used to watch ECW, it was on the Spanish channel at 1 a.m. on Friday nights. So there was dedication there, and now it's very easy. It's simple. It's free. It's on Pro Wrestling TV at 8 p.m. MLW Fusion. Alex Hammerstone, the World Heavyweight Champion of MLW. Thank you so much for being here on 10 Count. I've been Steve Fall. He's been the World Champion. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.